We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
The Falken Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falken Azenis RT660.
Hawk Performance packs 100 years of friction dynamics into every product. Backed by Carlisle Brake and Friction, the world's premier innovator of industrial brake and friction components, Hawk leverages R&D tools and motorsports experience to deliver uncompromising performance on the street. There's no reason to settle for less. Choose pads that are race-proven and street legal. Find the Hawk Performance brake dealer near you at hawkperformance.com.
What's up, everybody? JR here from FCP Euro. Summer is the time for car shows, road trips, track days, and so much more. And the FCP Euro Summer Sale is here to help. Use the code HEATWAVE to get $10 off an order of $125 or more, $20 off an order of $250 or more, or $50 off an order of $500 or more. Head to coupons.fcpro.com to shop the sale, and thank you for your support.
GRIDLIFE's home has long been the Midwestern region of the United States. Gingerman Raceway, Autobahn Country Club, Blackhawk Farms, and all the other racetracks that make the Midwest home for GRIDLIFE. This weekend, we're at Autobahn Country Club for GRIDLIFE Chicago in 2021. My name's Kyle Heyer, here alongside DJ Alessandrini for the fourth round of the 2021 season. Kicking things off first with GLTC Qualifying. DJ, good morning. It's a little damp and wet out here, very humid, but GLTC back racing after only a couple weeks off from Gingerman.
You know, it's going to be a pretty tricky qualifying session out there. It's dry in some places and it's wet in most. Honestly, it's a tough pick on what tire you go out. Do you go out on a racing H2O, or do you honestly, the best tire probably is a fast street tire in these conditions. That's probably the best, which leads us into Jeremy Swenson. He's the fastest car on street tires, so we might see a really strong qualifying performance from Jeremy Swenson.
Tires are going to be the discussion all weekend long between wet tires, dry tires, street tires, a lot of different combinations of rubber compounds that you could run this weekend to be fast. Now, in the past, not a lot of drivers have had wet tires, but most of the paddock I talked to, at least the drivers at the top end of the point standings, they do have wet tires here this weekend, including winning Formula. They're trying a different compound. They're trying the Spec Miata Hoosier wet tire, which is a slightly harder compound, which I have been told will be a little bit better in kind of mixed conditions as it's drying out.
Yeah, 100%. The harder compound is going to make them a little bit more durable. It's going to make just that basically they won't fall apart, which might lead to maybe they're a little slower in the beginning of the weekend, but the longevity of that slightly harder compound wet tire. Uh-oh, that's Andy off into the grass there. The longevity of that, you might see that pay off at the end of the weekend because, Kyle, the whole weekend looks like it's going to be wet. We might not have a single dry race. This might be the driest session all weekend. Here we see Tom O'Gorman with a brand new wrapped car ASM.
Yeah, Tom O'Gorman, you mentioned the ASM. I was holding my talkback button. I wasn't realizing that. It's been a couple weeks since I've been out here. But you mentioned Tom O'Gorman, brand new wrapped car. It used to be yellow. Now it's blue. Now, we should keep an eye on that blue car because he's won 4 of the last 5 races, and he charged from 20th to 9th in the points at Gingerman. He won that weekend, so he's coming in real hot, and it's probably the favorite. He was quickest in practice this morning.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have a chance to see the practice results, so Tom being the quickest, honestly, that's really impressive because he's only ever done just a couple laps here at this racetrack. So that's showing Tom O'Gorman right off the bat, just straight to the top of the leaderboard. And his first couple laps in a true race car here, I think he's taken some other people's street cars out here just for some sighting laps. But that's basically it. So if Tom started that fast, you can just expect him to get faster and faster throughout the weekend.
That's Chris Adams in the number 187, a relatively new driver here to GLTC. Nicely prepped car, kind of hangs out in the winning Formula camp. I think that's also a K-Swap Miata as well, so kind of matches the other winning Formula cars. There's a whole bunch of them down there, as well as the Duratec Miatas. We're missing Eric Meadows this weekend, but we have Justin Lee, Gary Wimble, Luke McGrew. And Luke McGrew is still the points leader. After 4 rounds of racing, he's still the one on top. But Aaron Lichty is eating into that lead. I think the gap is 19 points coming into this weekend, so the season-long points championship is tightening up as we head into Chicago here.
I mean, Kyle, as we've seen in multiple different championships that involve a points accumulation, honestly, the guy who wins it is normally the guy who makes the least amount of mistakes throughout the entire season, and I don't know if we've seen Luke make a mistake yet.
As you see, track is actually pretty busy right now. You see Brian Heikotter working by a couple of the Myriad Motorsports cars. We have a field of about 41 to 42 cars here this weekend. So the challenge is going to be finding a space to get a clean lap. This is a 2.1 mile racetrack, so it's not small, but cars are going to clump up significantly more because of the tire differences, because of the driver skill differences. A lot of changes and a lot of speed differences between the cars are going to make qualifying very challenging.
Yeah, I mean, we have 40, do you know the final count? 42 cars, relatively small track, pretty busy track, but at the same time, it's a really fast track. The middle of the track is really quick. You're probably, oh, is that a car off?
Yeah, there was a car off on the backside. That is that Dustin Barty, perhaps?
I think that's the Acuity 8th Gen.
Yep, that is Dustin Barty in the 8th Gen Civic, off at the exit of turn number 3. There's a big puddle over here the drivers have been struggling with, but it looks like he's able to get that car.
That's an amazing drone shot there.
Yeah, great work by the camera guys.
You know, he's doing a good job entering the racetrack in the direction that the track travels. And not perpendicular, all iRacing style.
Yeah, you can see when he was pulling back onto the racetrack that you could see the water pouring out. As soon as you hit the grass, it's like ice when it's wet, so it's going to be a real challenge.
He really got away with something there. It doesn't appear that he touched anything.
No, he did a pretty good job getting that car back on the racetrack. As we take a look, we saw one of the other ASM cars, the red one. That's Zachary Lovoy. That's a relatively new driver. His first event was back at Gingerman Raceway a few weeks ago, so he's got that car all wrapped along with Tom and Andy. They all got matching cars as we see a couple new guys rolling around the field here as well.
Yeah, it's just a really sharp looking team. All their liveries are on point. And speaking about livery on point, you have Seth Gale out there in that Hawk Racing Integra. Looking really, really good out in the Integra. He's been having some reliability issues. And he asked me, DJ, how many events does it take till it's reliable? And I didn't have a good answer for him because every car is different. But eventually you're going to get to a point where the car lasts a whole weekend and you don't realize till the end of the weekend where you're like, I didn't have to work on it at all.
So you see look at Austin Hurdle, big slide at the exit of turn, this is on the backside of the racetrack, I think. Big slide for him there. Really struggling to get grip. That's actually, this is back on the far side of the racetrack. Really struggling to get any sort of rear end grip in that 370Z. He had a couple spins back at NCM. I think there's also a fairly decent challenge. That car is 3,200 pounds, the biggest, heaviest, probably the least good handling car here in terms of its dynamics.
Yeah, I'm curious if the heavier is going to help or hurt in the rain because you need the tires to do more when you're heavy. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Kyle?
I mean, it really depends on how the car is set up. I don't think that the weight, in a little bit of wet, I think the weight's probably a good thing. In these damp conditions, I'm not really sure what tire Austin is on right now, so I think the tire is a bigger deal. He might be going out on the dry tire to kind of see. There is a dry line forming. You can see how the pavement is changing color-wise. The darker gray is where it's damper. The lighter gray is where it's drying out. So going out on the slick tire might not be a terrible idea.
Especially just to feel it out.
Yeah, just to feel it out and see how it's going to pan out for him. And we'll get some lap times going for you here shortly so we can figure out who's going to end up on pole.
We can see it's still plenty wet out there. You saw the Myriad Motorsports S2000. Not entirely sure what driver's in that car. We saw it a little offline to the left to allow Austin Hurdle that clear space on the track. We saw him kick up a bunch of water. Austin on the line didn't kick up any water at all. So it seems like there's a dry line forming, but anything directly off of it is really wet. And at a place like this, that's really punishing and very tricky. To be inch perfect.
It certainly is. Lap times for it while we're working on some technical issues in the backdrop. Tom O'Gorman is currently provisional pole, a 1:43.188. That's about 6 seconds faster than he ran in practice. So the track definitely is drying out. Ryan Upham in the number 13. He is running second right now with a 1:46.249. Andy Smedgard running third. Then Brian Heitkotter, Arimas Karosis. He's a new driver this week in the 871 car. Lewis Chatroop running sixth. Then Justin Kelly, Justin Lee, Tiffany Kelly, Scott Robertson, the rest of the top 10. Notably, Jeremy Swenson, Emil Tab, 12th and 13th. Aaron Lichty, 16th.
The most notable stat from that entire list is Tom O'Gorman is on pole position. He's just showing up on the frame right now. He's right behind the Miata, turning in. He's 3 seconds faster than second place.
Yeah, he's hauling right now, and Tom's got a lot of experience racing in the wet. There is, again, his teammate Zachary Lovoy in the number 42 car. This is only his second ever event. This car is prepped very, very similarly to Tom's car, and it's very quick. I mean, we saw Zach in practice basically running inside the top 10 in only his second event ever in tricky conditions at a track that is not easy to drive. I mean, that's really impressive for a relatively new driver. Currently 16th there on the leaderboard. Notably also Eric Catil, 20th. So maybe on a slick tire there as well. Not necessarily confident.
Laps?
He's run 4 laps.
Okay, so he's still turning laps. I wonder if Eric's having issues, or because we'd expect Eric Catil, last year's GLTC champion, to have a little higher place on the grid. Especially, he's prepared. He has Hoosier wet tires. I wonder if he went out in slicks and he may be struggling.
Again, the tire selection is going to be something we'll be following all weekend long. It's going to be very challenging to keep up with it. If the track is not actively raining, there is I see Scott Robertson going for a big slide there. He's on street tires.
But you see there is a dry line form.
Yeah, the thing is, if it's not actively raining, the longer cars are running, they're going to make that dry line. So slicks will get better as the session goes on. And now we got our leaderboard up thanks to the guys behind the scenes. You can see the lap times now. Tom O'Gorman currently the quickest at 1:42.681. And he is continuing to go faster and faster. We're looking at a graph of his lap times on Race Hero, and they're getting quicker and quicker every single lap. There's Aaron Lichty, who right now is scored down in 19th place, and I'm sure he would like to climb up the order just a little bit. He might have jumped up, he did, into 11th spot with 6:02 rather.
Yeah, great showing from Chatroop, finding himself in third place in this very, very tricky qualifying. Also good showing from Justin Kelly, finding himself in fourth place. He showed up to Gingerman 3 weeks ago to race, and his car broke before the races. Brand new build in there. It's actually a Honda Odyssey van engine in an S2000 chassis. Really interesting build. And with anytime you have an interesting build, there's a bunch of custom engineering and fabrication, and that when the part designed isn't designed by an entire team of engineers, things tend to not be as reliable as they should. So good to see Justin Kelly out there right now with a reliable car. I'm assuming, I mean, he might be broken off to the side, he put it in that one flyer, but I'm assuming that his car is reliable as it sits right now. So hoping for a reliable weekend for Justin Kelly so we can see what that J-powered S2000 can really do.
Well, Tom O'Gorman's time on the leaderboard is still displaying a 46.4. However, I do have a 1:42.6 also recorded for him that appears to be
last lap.
His best lap of the day, 1:42.681. So yeah, Tomo right now currently 1.8 seconds up on Brian Heitkotter, who jumped into second place. The Chris Forsberg Racing Nissan 370Z Nismo, that car has this is the third round that's made. They had a strategic error at Gingerman a couple weeks ago. The way we set the way we set our grids for the races, right? Race 1, you grid by qualifying. Race 2 set by fastest lap. Race 3 is by finishing position from race 2, and race 4 is finishing position from race 3 with a random invert. There was a little bit of a mix-up in what race they thought the lap time gridded you in, so Heitkotter laid back in the field to get a good lap, ended up finishing 35th, and that's where he started for race 3. It buried him down in the points for the weekend, but that car is very, very fast.
Very fast. It was fighting for the win at Gingerman, and unfortunately had a penalty, just a tricky scenario, passing a car into yellow. Hopefully we don't see any of that this weekend. And I have to make a correction. I was immediately corrected on Facebook chat. Justin's driving a J-powered FRS.
Yes.
Yes.
What'd you say, S2000?
I said S2000.
Okay, that's Tiffany's car.
That's Tiffany's car, yeah.
Whoa, big slide there by, I think that's the Acuity Civic. There's Tom O'Gorman slicing and dicing through the pack, doing what Tom does best.
Yes.
Man, he is in his element right now. Again, the challenging conditions. For those of you that don't know, and Tom O'Gorman is a well-known name here in our paddock, but he used to race in pro, in IMSA and World Challenge, won 2 championships in Pirelli World Challenge and the TCA TCB championships, then went off to IMSA, the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series, won 4 races there for LA Honda World, and now runs in GLTC, and now he's got the car underneath him to complement his talent, and it is showing lately.
And if I'm recognizing the wheels correctly, I think he only has 1 pair of silver wheels. He's out there and dries.
Yeah, interesting. So I think Tom, with the skill level that he's got, he's able to control that snap oversteer that you could get hitting puddles and that sort of thing. But the track is dry enough right now that I don't think a wet is going to help you. You're probably just going to melt them. And again, a wet tire is a softer compound DJ that gets hot very quickly if it's not in water.
And I'm not sure how many guys are showing up with multiple sets of wet tires for the weekend. So if you find yourself out there right now on wet tires, it's almost better to stop trying to beat your head against a lap time. Come in, let the wet tires live because you're going to need them all weekend.
Yeah, I think Austin Hurdle's out there on slicks as well. You could see them sort of power sliding out of the corners, getting the power down and holding the rear end out. Tomo, his best lap still, he just improved there, a 1:42.57. Puts him 2.5 seconds up on top of the board. His teammate, Andy Smedgard, jumps into second. In the ASM number 212, Hike Cotter still third. Lewis Chatroop fourth. Aaron Lichty has jumped to fifth. Emil Tab into sixth. Then Upham, Robertson, Swenson, and Justin Kelly, the rest of the top 10. Eric Catil still down in 16th place. Wonder what the tire call was there. Maybe a wet.
Maybe a wet.
We should be able to tell. I think Eric's wheels are also pretty different. He's got kind of like a light gray wheel for his wet tires.
Yeah, his slicks are black, so if we get a shot of Eric Catil, we could definitely tell what tire he's on.
And this is Andy Smedgard. His chrome wheels are the slicks, so he is out there on the dry tire, and that seems to be the one that is the quick one right now. And again, that's Andy Smedgard of Andy Smedgard Motorsports. He built, probably half the cars in the paddock at this point.
And then Winning Formula built the other half.
Yeah. But that's a team of what is usually 4 cars, but Ronnie Solomon is not here with the trainer S2K this week. So it's just Zachary Lovoy, Andy Smedgard, and Tom O'Gorman that are that team. Hike Cotter for Chris Forsberg Racing is the car in third. Then Winning Formula right now running 5th and 6th with Emil Tab and Aaron Lichty. No Pervez Randilia, still working on a K-swap for the FRS that ran really well here last year. And no Scott Bowling from what I see. He was on the entry list, but I don't think made it this time around in the Porsche Cayman.
Right, yeah. I think the Miata would be the better call here.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So, looking down the rest of the list, Justin Lee just jumped into 10th spot. Jeremy Swenson just outside of the top 10 in 11th. Now, Swenson is running a different tire this time around from what he ran at Gingerman. Used to run the Yokohama tire that was reclassed since Gingerman. Essentially, there was determined that they are too large of an advantage for too short of a time, and they were essentially classed the same as a slick tire. So what Jeremy has done is switched over to a Nankang tire, which is kind of not the same thing, but kind of the same idea, which will be better for shorter.
It at least looks very similar. Wow, huge moment from, I think that's Chatroop.
Lewis Chatroop, yep.
He was way sideways. I kind of expected a bunch of smoke coming out of there and a passenger. I thought that was a drift session we just transferred in all of a sudden. But, yeah, Chatroop hanging it out there, barely kept it facing the right way. There's no way he wasn't full lock there.
Andy Smedgard working through some traffic. Now you see him take a big chunk of curb. Apex curbs here, very tall, very smooth. You can jump them. Just got to be careful if it's going to upset the race car. Exit curbs, they got big old ripple strips, DJ. They'll shake your teeth out, but they're not going to hurt you. They might collect water, though, so I would probably stay off them in the conditions this weekend. Tom O'Gorman again improves on lap 9 of this session, a 1:39.226, up by 1.3 on his teammate Smedgard.
Yeah, and it's kind of Tom O'Gorman and Andy Smedgard's show right now. Lewis Chatroop, the next closest. Who's on your screen right now? He's got, wow,
got a blinker on.
I didn't know BMWs had turn signals.
Well, that one worked. He's probably wheeling it so hard that he tripped the stop.
He turned it off. What a gentleman.
And Hike Cotter just jumped back up into third place on the leaderboard, a 1:43.915. That puts him up into third. Chatroop slips back to fourth, and Emil Tab fifth. Kelly, Lichty, Hurdle. Chris Adams jumps into ninth, and Orimus Korosis, again, new driver, jumps up to 10th. Aaron Lichty just went to P3, a 1:43.212, just went third quickest. So Lichty now P3 on the leaderboard.
Yeah, Eric Catil finally found himself into the top 10, so that's That's pretty huge from him. I mean, that's still 5 rows back. That looks like a million cars in front of you when you're behind the pace car. Yeah, I'm
correction,
curious.
Catil is still in 16th place based on best lap.
Gotcha. We're still seeing last lap
Yes.
on the screen there.
Yes,
Gotcha.
so Catil's still down in 16th place. Interestingly, I don't see Luke McGrew on here. Now, I did see him out in practice earlier, and he was running quickly, but I don't think his transponder was working. So I think there's something to work out with timing and scoring there.
So in GLTC, if you have accompanying video and data, they can, with a timestamp, you can use your aim time as like a kind of one-off things. You can't do it all the time, but you can use your aim time to get a qualifying time. So we'll see later where Luke McGrew's stacking up. Hopefully, Kyle, he went out there on slicks and not rain tires.
Yeah, we were just chatting about that yesterday. We were kind of giving him a hard time over that. In the past, Luke has been the first one to change to a sketchy tire. Now, Eric Catil back on the racetrack. Now you'll note the rims this time are black. These are his slick tires. So he has made a tire change in qualifying to go back out and try to run a quick lap before the session ends.
Gotcha. All right. So, I mean, Eric Catil and his hybrid racing crew pulling an F1 style pit stop, even though it's probably just 2 guys. It wasn't like 20.
I hope that he started a lap already because the checkered flag is out, so qualifying is going to be finishing. So if he has not yet started his flying lap, he will not get a chance to. The 20 minutes is actually a long session for us, so we got a little bit more grace time than you normally would get.
I wonder if he rolled past the start-finish in grid, if that would still be faster than a time on rain tires.
I don't know. I mean, it's
the rain tires really struggle when it's dry.
It's about a 12-second difference from where the drivers were on wet tires this morning. So that, you might be right about that. Tom O'Gorman picks up again on lap number 11, a 1:38.303. Well, that's pole by 1.8 seconds as things stand. Smedgaard goes quicker. He closes in 0.8 of a second, but not quick enough to go to pole. Aaron Lichty still remains third. Eric Catil, P5, 1:43.371. He and that hybrid racing team, they saved it just in time.
He had 1 lap, and he got it done. So great job from Eric there, and great job from all the guys there. That was a very tricky qualifying session, and they got it done. There was no crinkled fenders during that whole session, and yeah, that's just a great job from everyone. Those are very tricky conditions.
Again, progressively as the session goes on, it's going to dry out. We have a chance for rain later today and tomorrow. So if it rains again, the choice will be rain tires, but if the track is actively drying, I think we're going to see the first couple laps be very sketchy and be mostly dry tires. So that's the challenge that drivers have to face this weekend. We're going to talk about it all the time, so put it on your list. Wets or dries or street tires, what do you pick? Who do you trust? It's going to be very sketchy.
What weather app are you trusting?
Which none of them.
Yeah, maybe there should be some stickers of their designated weather app. This would be the ultimate advertisement. So, hey, Weather Underground, you listening?
All right, up next, Time Attack is going to be our next session here. We're going to have Abe and Adam join you for the Time Attack session here in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we're going to roll the partners and people that make this happen for GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. We'll be back with you later at 3:35 p.m. Central Time for race number 1 for GLTC. Time Attack, then Drift, up next. GRIDLIFE Touring Cup is brought to you by FCP Euro. Every part you buy is guaranteed for life. By Falken Tire. Falken Tires, competition-proven performance. MOMO, the official safety partner of GRIDLIFE. Hawk Brakes, race-proven, street-legal. And by Valvoline. Valvoline VR1, available at Advanced Auto Parts stores.
We still on this weekend for a little?
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some.
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting the wedding. She's getting married, so.
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
The next generation of auto detailing is here, where simplicity meets performance. 303 Graphene Nanospray Coating. Get a year of protection from a powerful graphene oxide formula. A formula that sends water flying off surfaces, keeping water spots at bay. Go beyond wax, beyond ceramic. Graphene Nanospray Coating from 303.
What's up, everybody? JR here from FCP Euro. Summer is the time for car shows, road trips, track days, and so much more. And the FCP Euro Summer Sale is here to help. Use the code HEATWAVE to get $10 off an order of $125 or more, $20 off an order of $250 or more, or $50 off an order of $500 or more. Head to coupons.fcpro.com to shop the sale, and thank you for your support.
The Falken Azenis RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falken Azenis RT660.
Welcome back to Grid Life Live. I'm Abram Schmucker. Here alongside for the weekend is Adam Nielsen. We are in the middle of Time Attack Session 1, Heat 1.
Yeah.
Typically for a weekend, we would sort run groups based on expected lap times, but because the track has been wet this morning, some drivers may not take the opportunity to go out. Really, the session kind of is going to remain open for about an hour. We'll do 3 run groups with drivers taking the opportunity to go out and learn some additional driving skill on a drying or damp and drying track. So I double-checked track records before the session, and what you're kind of expecting to see is times when you've got favorable track conditions in the mid-20s. Here, what we're seeing right now is Jackie Ding with the fastest so far, 139.491 in a new Tesla.
Oh, that's right. I saw that. He was in a Model 3.
So I think drivers really just kind of learning on actually, that may be wrong. I think Jackie is out on the Supra.
Yeah, I just saw the Supra there on the screen. So maybe
he could be double driving.
Well, I mean, he's done it many times before, so what a madman.
But what you can see is the track still is very slick. GLTC was just out onto the racing surface. And again, time is just a little off there as well. But if the weather holds off, we should see things clear up here real soon.
Yeah.
What we saw during the GLTC session is lap times continue to go down and down and down for the entirety of the session. So I would not be surprised to see things improve here. Jackie already improved now to a 137.387, which is pretty quick, but about 10 seconds off the street mudder.
Yeah, still off of the pace we're hoping to see. So I'm looking at the weather forecast. I'm not real confident that we're going to have a lot of good sessions for Time Attack this week.
Well, I think that's what makes this Time Attack format a little bit tricky, is because what it will mean is if there is a dry session, you have to be ready to do it at that time. And so, you know, if the car's not ready or not prepared, or, you know, you're working through a mechanical, you may miss your chance.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I talk about running an event for Time Attack, I would prefer that it be wet the entire weekend or dry the entire weekend, because it takes a little bit of pressure off of, you know, that one session.
Right.
So I think what you'll see here are drivers like Alex Moss in his Super K S2000 go out here and run hard to try and get some additional one lap of America experience, because in those environments you have to run basically rain or shine, and so to be quick in all conditions is really important.
Right. I'm sure there's a lot of drivers feeling some pressure this first session, because who knows what the rest of the weekend could bring in, and this might be the closest thing to a fast dry track we get.
Yeah, very unpredictable so far. It rained pretty hard this morning.
Yeah.
For quite a while.
Yeah, last
and
night.
Rained overnight, and so I haven't looked at the forecast in the last few minutes, but I think it's changing by the minute.
It's on and off all day. So, and you just never know. I know, talking to locals around here, the lake does weird things with storms, and so it's hard to predict what may happen.
And so I think what you're seeing here is corners still very loose, especially the rear-wheel drive cars onto power, overslide or oversteer quite a bit, and it's hard to be fast when you're battling through every corner like that.
Yeah, sometimes it may just be best to go out there and enjoy it. Maybe slide a little more than you really wanted to, and just enjoy the time.
So a driver that in, I guess, a new class, we were talking just a minute before we went on camera about the Club TR class, and there are a few drivers that have some ice racing experience and are driving rear-wheel drive cars, and we kind of expect them to have a performance advantage in that class relative to some of the other drivers who have the most experience just driving in perfect conditions.
Yeah.
So drivers that we know are here are Dana and Ryan Seiler.
Yep.
Both of them expected to be quick. Dana is running with the ASM team, and Ryan is
He's a very, very comfortable ice racer.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's from that.
A lot of those Wisconsin people are good at doing that.
Yeah, they're crazy people.
Have you ever been to an ice racing?
I have so little interest in participating in that, I can't even describe it.
Well, is that because you're out working in the cold?
Yeah, I spend enough time in the cold in my day job. The last thing I want to do is go do it on the weekend for fun.
I remember a couple of years ago, the air temperature for our ice racing event that morning was -26.
Yeah.
That didn't include any wind chill. That was the air temperature.
Yeah.
And the turnout for GRIDLIFE Ice Battle that year was really good. People had fun.
And more power to them. I'm glad they did. But you're not going to catch me out there.
I'm glad other people are having fun.
Yeah,
but it's not for me.
It's good that not everybody is as sunny day as I am.
So other drivers we're used to seeing during this session. Tony Barber driving a Tesla Model 3.
Yep.
I think Lisa Keys is driving Low Red in 155.
I saw that car here this weekend.
That's probably.
I assume that's what she's in. I think that they might have a small fleet of vehicles with which to choose from.
Ooh, boy. Ryan Matthews in his Corvette C5 has been historically really quick in the street mod class with a 142.566. But it may be the competition to watch this weekend could be in street mod and could be in Club TR.
Yeah, not a lot of track mod cars here that I saw when I was walking paddock last night. Didn't have a lot of time to check who showed up this morning.
I know that they're typically those really wild track mod cars. You look at the forecast, and if you know that the track's not going to be there for you,
you don't bother.
You don't bother.
Same with the unlimited class. I'm sure there's one or two guys out here that are in unlimited for one reason or another, but certainly the guys that are looking to set track records are probably not here this weekend.
So we know one of our GRIDLIFE unlimited class competitors, Will Al-Young, is running Pikes Peak International Hill Climb this weekend. So good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited. I'm going to struggle to try and watch both of these things this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
So very excited about Pikes Peak every year. There's a handful of GRIDLIFE buddies there this year.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Alex Arteat, I think, is running at the M3 or the M4. I get him confused these days.
Yeah, right.
In Street GT, looks like he's running pretty quick there. Kay Lee, I wonder if that's Kirsten. We'll have to check.
My phone works terribly here.
No,
so
it's
really
not
struggling
Kirsten.
to get times.
It's Caillou Lee. Looks like in Street or Street Mod running a 43.065. And then Joe Milkey running a 42.358. So Jackie running a 33.7 pretty much indicates that the track's coming in pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's getting there.
But not quite there yet. If the weather is good this weekend, I fully expect him to break the street mod record. That car is dialed.
So the record currently in street mod, the 127.8 held by Sean Krebsbach, which was set, I believe, last year.
I think that's right.
And I remember that weekend being wild because Sean holds the overall record, but Alex holds the rear-wheel drive class record, and he's less than a tenth of a second behind Sean.
It was really, really good competition.
And I remember that being such a wild race, and those guys trading back and forth all weekend. So it would be awesome to see those times go even farther down.
Yeah, I know that Jackie has driven here plenty of times. I fully expect him to be quick. Looks like we had a driver off. Can't tell you what corner that is, but may or may not have had contact there, but was able to drive to a corner station.
This is probably the track I know the least well of the ones we're running this year. So corner numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's hard. I think Heartlands is going to be a new one for me.
Well, I've been on that track.
Okay.
And that's kind of about as close to local as I get. So Cody Smith on screen there with a crazy little Buick. He actually reached out to me after Gingerman and talked to me a little bit about that car. It's quite a build. He has a ton of time into trying to make a car that was certainly not designed to turn a corner. So
living life the hard way.
It's a really impressive build. He's got a lot of time and energy devoted into that car. So
it's pretty good looking, I would say.
I really like it. I think it's cool.
Lots of unique builds in the GRIDLIFE track battle. I know that David Otterbury is working on a DCT swap for his 240. Is that what it is?
I don't remember.
I'm
not sure that I'm familiar with that build.
And who else is on track? Chris Bickford running a 46.854. Grant Mullet, who I think is probably driving by himself this weekend, missing his co-driver Ryan Finch.
No, Grant would be his son.
Oh, is that right?
That's a Street GT class car.
Oh, I was thinking of Ron.
Yes.
My mistake.
Yes. I know that Ron's track mod car, they're still struggling to get sorted out and dialed in. So.
I think one of the challenges with a build like that is sometimes even if everything goes right and you know what you're doing, it takes a little bit of time to just figure things out and to go through the teething issues and make sure that the car is fully dialed and sorted to run fast on the racetrack.
Yeah, that car made a big leap this year from the year before in performance ability, a supercharger, and some aero work and stuff like that, and made a big jump up in classes. And a lot of cars they kind of slowly work their way up in progression, and things are a little bit easier to dial in small leaps.
Changes. Yep.
Big jumps like that is going to create issues.
Well, as a fan of Time Attack, I mean, a few years ago, James Houghton moved from a supercharged setup to a turbocharged setup.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, that team knew very well what they were doing and how to do it. And it still took some time to make sure that everything was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, nearly a full season of changing exhaust manifolds and turbo setups and the whole thing. That car fought them for a while there.
A little bit. It looks like we're probably checkered on the first run group, getting ready to release run group 2. Like I said, the field here is mixed. There's going to be probably some fast cars and some a little bit slower cars here. So we really don't know what to expect until everyone rolls out.
So let's talk about this. There's no wet records for this track yet, I don't believe. At least they're not published on the website, at least.
Well, I'll say that I've been slacking on maintaining the records on the website. There were some adjustments in layout and format and stuff, and the place that I had kept the records on the website got moved. And so I need to rebuild that, and I think there are times we keep all of our stuff in like a Google Sheet, and that is the current doc. and then things get posted onto the website following that. But kind of our master list for records is maintained by the timing and scoring team.
So who makes the decision on these conditions are wet enough to be considered wet track?
Well, typically that would be me, and it would be the head timing official. This weekend, that's Kevin Wendt.
Okay.
And really, it's a judgment call that gets to decide if there's enough spray coming off of the tires of the car for us to say, yes, that's wet. So it doesn't have to be torrential rain currently if the track is still soaked and there is standing water on the circuit.
So that could change even from run group to run group.
We try not to do that because it's a logistical nightmare. So if records will typically be set by the front runners in both the wet and the dry.
That's fair.
And so if a session begins as wet, typically it stays wet.
That's fair. Group 2 rolling out.
Few fits. I think I've gotten like 2 or 3 offers to drive fits this weekend.
There's a significantly smaller contingent of fits than there were at spring kickoff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like moss to a flame or something at Gingerman that just draws the fits.
Well, I think that's the GRIDLIFE core group in general.
That's probably true.
So
it's Civic SI.
Yeah.
Don't see those very often.
No, not that generation.
Not that generation anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of the unloved child of the Civic SIs.
Right.
At least in the track community.
I think that's 7th gen Civic.
I wouldn't even begin to guess.
I think that's right.
Whatever I say, it'll be wrong.
Comment below.
Somebody will correct us.
So test my knowledge of old Honda Civic SIs. I believe that was the first year that they moved from double wishbone fronts to strut fronts.
Okay.
And things are just, they were not perfect in terms of geometry. Whereas I think people learned a lot during that period, and the 8th gens were quite a bit better.
Right.
Still using that conventional strut setup in the front.
First and strut. Whoa. Getting a little wild and crazy out there. Leaves being followed.
It's like
Ben Thorne there.
Ben Thorne there.
Our Club TR class leader, points leader.
So if you're not following the Gears and Gasoline series, they have been documenting their competition this year within GRIDLIFE Track Battle. And Ben has put together a really, really solid car.
Yeah.
But watching his weekend unfold at spring kickoff was, I don't know, it was kind of disappointing because you saw the missed opportunities, because it just like, there was always something that was in his way from but kind of preventing him from doing the time that he had set at Taco Track Day a couple of weekends before.
Time
so
that he knew the car had in it.
So sometimes that's how weekends go. But the car is really, really quick, and it's got lots of really unique and thoughtful modifications to try and build a really competitive car that's providing useful data for him to drive better. If I recall, that car has tire temp sensors, which I think is very cool.
Oh.
I think that's right. Because I know that they did a video with the guys at Professional Awesome Racing, I think last year, where they integrated a multi-channel tire sensor with their
they
aim
have a
dash.
system that they sell. It looks really cool. A lot of people say, tire pyrometers were the thing back in the day, but it's still not a very accurate way of measuring tire temps and what they're doing on the track, which is where you need to know it.
Right.
And infrared sensors have come so far, and they've become, that used to be kind of cost prohibitive to all but pro racing teams, and it's really cool that a company like Professional Awesome can come out with a more reasonably priced product for people to be.
I am surprised that there's still that much water on track.
Yeah, that was a lot of spray coming off there. Whoa, second time in that corner, and he's just spinning out.
So definitely still some puddles on the course. Kind of surprised to see that, because the Group A and GLTC were running decently quick. I hope it's not starting to rain again.
It doesn't look like it, at least.
So Ben rolling around turn 1 here, still slick.
Still very slick, absolutely. Very surprising to see that.
And I think this is tricky because you know, there'll be some drivers who compete in our series who set the car up for the weekend, or maybe don't even touch it, don't even change the setup over the duration of the year. But some drivers may have the mechanical aptitude to, you know, start to dial in setup specific to a track and specific to conditions. But the question will be, you know, given that the weather is so variable, are you going to make setup changes session to session, knowing that it might not be wet or dry for the next one?
I think it'd be hard to even try and do that, because even if you make changes, it's hard to determine whether or not you went the right direction or the wrong direction, because the track is almost certainly not going to be the same.
So, I have a soft spot in my heart for Evo 10s.
Right.
It is such an unbelievably big car when you see it next to something like a Miata.
Yeah, they are not small cars.
You're starting to see a little bit of a drying track there, really drying out, but still I think just enough to catch people off guard.
Yeah. This is probably when that's the most tricky, is people think that, oh, this is better, right? I don't have to be quite so careful, and then they find that one spot.
So what we see in this group, we were talking about Ryan Seiler and Dana Baczynski. Here they're running a 56 and a 57 respectively, but Ben Thorne is got a substantial lead with a 154.546.
Well, and we saw that blue Civic Si spin out in front of him, so you know there was some time lost right there, because
yeah,
they were
probably
very close to each other. So you know there's a lot of room in that. So Ryan Seiler there going a 149, already significantly improving his
and
time. So
Dana as well with a 150.1.
Yeah. Lots of names I'm not familiar with this weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of been an interesting weekend so far. I wonder if the weather just I don't want to say scared some people off, but you know, maybe made people second guess or decide to shift their tickets to another event.
Well, I know there's kind of two thoughts of how people approach time attack, and there's the group of guys that only care about track and class records, and the group of guys who are more interested in maybe trying to compete for the season championship.
Sure.
And if you're in that first category, I mean, I probably wouldn't have even loaded the car on the trailer this weekend, you know?
It's potentially a lot of travel for maybe just a moment or two of track time.
Yeah, when you look at the running costs of especially some of the pointy end track mod and unlimited cars, you know, you're talking potentially thousands of dollars per lap in consumables and engine run time and stuff like that. It's just not worth it.
Man, track really drying up on the backside there.
Yeah, but I think deceptively so for other parts.
Because you see a couple of wet spots on the very next corner right there, right by the left side of the screen. Cal Fortner with a 144 or 419, arguably the loudest car in the field this weekend. Actually, both he and Alex Westergaard, I think, compete for that title of loudest car.
Yeah, which is funny because they're 1-2 right now.
Now, I remember a couple of years ago when it was raining pretty hard here at Autobahn Country Club, it was Cal Fortner who was first in line to go out and get some additional wet track time. So he's been driving that Audi for a number of years, and I think he really, really enjoys being out in the wet and the challenge of driving in that environment.
That's an all-wheel drive car. They're kind of known for their ability to handle bad weather. The Audi that I had, not so much. It wasn't good to me in the bad weathers, but that was probably because I was putting really crappy tires on it.
Well, it is the only part of the car that touches the road.
Yeah, I know.
So if your experience is bad, you might want to start there.
Well.
So the ASM team continues to grow.
Yeah.
And all of the wraps continue to get better.
Yeah.
So some new additions to the team this year are both Dana Baczynski and Southern gentleman Zach Lavoie in GLTC.
Oh, right.
And also, Tom O'Gorman's car got a new wrap debut yesterday, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
In the same color scheme as his PWC car from the Civic Si from a few years back. Looks really, really good.
Looks really, really good.
And so it's funny, you might say, well, sometimes looking good is as important as being good. In this case, being good and looking good is kind of the twofer.
Yeah.
So we see, I think that's Ryan Seiler there on the right side of the screen.
Yes, it is.
143.979 is a quick lap for sure.
Dana's just barely got him, though. That's very close. A 143.952 to a 143.979. Very, very close.
So, looking at times here on Race Hero, Alex Westergaard with a 143.478. Keenan Prusank, 143.685. Dana Bazinski, 143.952. Ryan Seiler, 143.979. Top four really close.
Yeah, very close. Not all the same class, I don't think. But still. It's good to finally see Dana having some luck with that car.
Yep, I think he had some trouble with...
it is early in the weekend, don't get me wrong.
That is true.
But...
he's been having trouble with drive-by-wire, I think.
Yeah, throttle bodies.
Apparently that's a problem sometimes.
Who knew? Also, I think they had some oil leak issues with some of the parts on the swap in that car because that's K-swapped.
That's right.
So...
Should be, I think, a really good weekend for both those guys, Dana and Ryan. I would expect them to battle for the rest of the weekend.
That would be awesome.
But it looks like Ben Thorne hasn't been around in quite a while.
Yeah,
his best is a 54.546. I wonder why he came in.
It's kind of looking like he may have pulled off, yeah.
It's really fun to watch these two cars, you know, really chase each other. Ryan and Dana.
Ooh,
this is, I think, Ryan's 4th event of the year. Did he go to NOLA?
He did.
Okay.
But not on Club TR.
Not in Club TR. So he's got, this will be his 3rd event.
Yeah.
And struggled a little bit at NCM with some mechanical issues, some alternators and things. So he was not really satisfied with the performance because he knew that both he and the car had better, but has been really quick the last couple of events.
The last event at Gingerman, that was his first time at Gingerman, so you know we kind of came into the weekend not really knowing what to expect, knowing that a huge portion of his competition has lots of time at Gingerman versus him with none. Still managed to put on a really good showing, so still fighting for a points lead or for the points podium in the class.
So you see Dana there with a little bit of an extra skid, letting Ryan Seiler by to hopefully not disrupt that lap.
Just seems to be the one that everybody's fighting. Looks like we've got a checker on the session now. So
Ryan Seiler, 42, which might be...
No, see the number 3 on... Ooh.
Ryan Seiler, 42.455, his best for the session.
Yeah. So I'm not sure who B Power is. On Race Hero, it's Banana Power. Not sure who it is, but they're in Club TR. So an impressive time there as well. A 142.
We'll have to learn more about Banana Power.
Last night I saw a yellow FRS with Chiquita banana stickers on the side.
You know, I saw that too.
So I'm going to make a guess.
An educated guess here.
And say that's probably what it is a yellow GT86 of some kind.
And it was actually a few years back, but Alex Westergaard and a few others, Honda Meet regulars, GRIDLIFE regulars, had a squad of S2000s that were Crayola crayon colored.
I remember that. That was
very cool livery in those cars.
It was neat to see them all out on track.
It's a little bit like seeing the whole crew of Fitz, actually. Everyone's kind of clustered right together, and they all have a really unique design theme.
I really enjoy when, when groups of guys who consider themselves teammates, like they'll all do similar liveries like the ASM cars and the Crayola team, and it seems to be a real popular thing with drifting guys. And I just think it's really cool.
Well,
even in the paddock.
I sometimes talk with Adam about how interesting the formation of like teams within our series has kind of just happened organically. And I can think of at least half dozen teams that they all go to events together, they camp out together, they hang out, and it's this it's just it's people are all over the country, but you get to come to the track and hang out with your buddies.
Yeah. There's that yellow GT86, assuming is banana power.
I wonder if the car's rich with potassium.
Hopefully not too much. We don't need any radioactivity.
So loving the drone footage. I think the last at spring kickoff, our drone pilot
Look
was
at that stream through there right now. That is full.
Very.
I didn't even know that was there.
I'll be honest, I didn't either.
In years past. Oh man.
I appreciate the aerial footage of the drones. Stunt pilot at NCI or at spring kickoff was very fun to watch.
Yeah.
The track is really, really starting to look dry here.
Right, but then we see them coming out of the section right here where people are able to see when you're on track, like after turn 2 and into 3, and there's plenty of water coming up off of wheels through there, and
so you can see a little bit of color contrast on the racing surface. Still just enough to diminish some traction there, on its way into turn 1. I don't think you worry too much about it on the straights here, but when you start to apply the brakes, that's where that changing surface can affect the ABS an awful lot.
Right.
So we're getting ready to start Time Attack Session 3. What other pieces of action are you looking forward to seeing this weekend in Time Attack?
Well, I was really looking forward to the Street Mod battle, as I always am, because it's always tight, or it's generally always tight as long as everyone's able to get through it mechanically. So that's exciting. A lot of our street class leaders I haven't seen this weekend. Halka, who has made all of the rest of the events this year, I haven't seen his car.
I haven't seen him either.
So that's kind of a bum deal that we may not have a real fight in street class.
Well, I think that's what makes each of these events so interesting, though, is because the way points are awarded for the season championship, being at events that may be, I don't want to say lesser attended, but just being strategic about the events you choose to attend can give you a performance advantage in terms of the overall points. If you go to an event, let's actually say Heartlands as an example. I don't know how ticket sales have been, but it'll be travel to a new place for a lot of people. And if you have been there before, seizing that opportunity to go to that track and go compete for first, you may have an excellent chance to secure 100 points, which is great if you're trying to build a season championship.
I've really been pushing a lot of my local track friends that maybe haven't done many or any GRIDLIFE events in the past to do the Heartland Park event, because it's close for me. It's within an hour of my parents' house even. And I really want to show the GRIDLIFE leadership that it's worth going that direction without just going right on by us to Colorado.
Well, I've heard some stories about people in Iowa, so...
But, there's always outliers, I'm just saying.
Track cold here for just a second as we get it ready to release Session 3.
Just 3 sessions this weekend?
I expect so.
In each
I think we're trying to manage the size of our time attack fields to consistently run 3 or 4 run groups at most.
Right.
I know there was a few years back where we had, I think, time attack D, E, and F, and that made for a very large chunk of track time devoted to time attack.
I did the live stream announcing at the festival event that went through F. And let me tell you, it gets real hard when you're on hour 2 of this time attack session.
Oh, no doubt. It's a lot of time on air.
Yeah.
So, for those not familiar with Autobahn Country Club, it is not that far outside of Chicago in Joliet, in kind of a really industrial area, lots of space, and really no sound limits to speak of because there's nothing else around here.
It's a train yard across the street.
But it's an event typically that this time of year is about 9 million degrees on track, and it's sweltering. But for this weekend, we've got some relief. It's cooler, periodic rain, so kind of a welcome refresh from what we're used to seeing.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, buddy. Loving our camera crew.
What a silly bunch of guys it seems.
I don't know what's going on in the background, but I hear Formula One.
Formula One cars in the background. I'm not sure what.
But not modern Formula One cars.
No, I'm guessing that must be a video game of some sort.
Well, I did see Jackie Ding was playing around in his Tesla Model S while at the same time streaming V10 F1 cars, which is pretty silly.
Jeez.
Hey, you're up.
So not quite sure what the delay is here, but it sounds like we've got whistles in the background. It sounds like they should be releasing here before too long. Sounds like we've got cars rolling out onto track as we speak to start their warm-up lap. For now, let's just watch some drone shots and see what the drone can do without crashing. Not a ton of 10th Gen Civics out here tracking yet, but I know a few of our drivers have them, and they are really capable, rewarding track cars.
I think a majority of them are probably still in the daily driver stage of their life cycle.
So I know that recent news for me is I'll be buying a Fit here before long. I'm pretty excited for that.
Is this officially a go? Because it
I
seemed
think
like
so.
You weren't sure last night.
I'm pretty sure it's
You were
happening.
working some logistics out.
Well,
You're
I'll
kind of a
probably
busy
just
man here.
leave a car at Adam's house and it'll be fine.
Oh, he won't even notice.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what I choose to do with that car, because I have my Mugen Civic, which I would like to continue to drive on track, but driving spec Fit is also fun. So
If it were me and I had those cars, the Fit would be my daily. And I would do some light track prep on the Mugen.
yeah, I don't expect to do a whole lot, but one of the things that it is cumbersome if you're traveling to a number of these events is, and especially if you and I have obligations at the event, spending time to work on a car during the event is tricky.
Right.
And so what I would like to do with the Civic is just have it be more track ready so that I can just put it on the tow dolly, bring it to the track, drive it, and then pull it home without having to do anything to it.
Brakes and tires.
Pretty much. And so if I if I kind of keep it in that condition, I don't have to do any work while I'm here, and that makes it a lot more friendly for my time at an event.
Right. I think, I would say that both of those cars are probably pretty close to being equally reliable on track.
Probably.
And the Civic should be a little bit faster.
It is.
Which should translate into being a little bit more fun.
Yep.
Not
And I actually, I'm kind of excited when I pick up this Fit. I'm kind of excited for the additional space. So I have a bicycle.
You think there's more space in a Fit than 8th gen Civic?
Almost certainly.
Really?
The way the space is configured, absolutely.
I suppose.
You can you can do all those crazy things with the seats.
You have a trunk car, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So being able to just load a bike without having to do anything is pretty exciting.
That's fair. You're just living that Honda life, aren't you?
Pretty much.
Odyssey?
Yeah.
Odyssey owner as well, correct?
I would not be exaggerating when I would say that the Odyssey is the fastest car in the fleet, bar none.
I recently purchased an Odyssey myself, and it's entirely too fast.
It's cartoonishly fast.
It's hilarious. It's totally unnecessary.
Renee Hines, our race director, has an ATS-V that she daily drives, and that too is cartoonishly fast, even though that's.
But you expect that to be.
Sure, but it is faster than you think that it probably should be.
Right, but it's got the V title and stuff like that. That makes sense. It's not a minivan.
But 280 horsepower out of a minivan, despite its weight, is really fast.
It's surprising. I mean, let's not get carried away with being really fast, but for what it is, it's silly.
I bet you, I'm almost certain that the 0 to 60 on the minivan is better than the Mugen Civic.
You should track the Odyssey.
It's been done. Shout out to Carl Hurdle and the HMA team.
That's fair. That's true. The Hot Odyssey.
Looks like Tori Skursky there in the daily driver BMW, and then a bunch of silly fits.
That corner is very slick still.
Beep, beep.
Good Lord. Ooh, Pontiac G8. Getting into weird domestic cars I do love.
So as we start to make our way through session 3, can you tell us a little bit more about where the origin story for your love of terrible domestic cars came from? Because this is not to say that all domestic cars are terrible, but the ones that you like tend to be.
Usually are. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I won't even argue that. So, I mean, I grew up in a decidedly domestic loving family.
Sure.
Specifically GMs and even more so Pontiacs. And I worked at a GM dealership in high school, and I got a Cavalier, and it was the first thing that I had purchased with my own money, and like. It wasn't expensive, but it was expensive to me.
Fair.
And so I was pretty proud of being able to do that as a high schooler myself, having no help from my parents in it and what. And so I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with the stupid car and had a few friends. They were kind of popular to modify in where I lived. There were a few of us that had mildly hopped up ones, and so it was kind of a scene. Hondas didn't really exist where I grew up, you know. There were a handful here and there, but it wasn't really a thing like they are in larger cities.
Sure, yeah. If the dealership is far away, it kind of makes things more challenging.
At least an hour to the nearest Honda dealership from my hometown, at least.
So we've got James Morgan, one of our head tech officials, and all around,
man in the world.
You know, do all the things at GRIDLIFE, driving Time Attack, which I think is new for him this year.
I'm excited to see.
Should be a good battle between Pete Lindbergh and James Morgan.
He can't seem to decide whether he wants to race his Fit or finish his GLTC car.
I know that he bought the Spec Fit from GRIDLIFE founder Chris Stewart, so that car has been prepared for Spec Fit and was done so during the West Michigan Honda meet 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Probably 3 years ago now, where everyone just kind of like, Chris had bought this Fit, and Saturday night of Honda meet, we put it into the tower, the Gingerman Tower tech shed area, and put it up on jacks, and like a team of 20 people converted it to Spec Fit in like an hour. So James enjoying that Spec Fit life.
That's a newer Fit.
2nd gen, I think.
What are you buying?
I think it's a 2nd gen.
Okay. Those are a little bit faster, maybe?
I think in general the performance between the 1st and 2nd gen is so unbelievably close because the differences in weight offset the changes in horsepower.
Okay. But the 3rd gen is...
demonstrably faster, yeah. By a lot. What I can say, though, is I think I agree with you that I will probably daily drive the Fit and enjoy it. And then almost immediately ruin it by taking it to the track.
There's Jackie and his Tesla there.
Running fast with a 139.7. Really impressive.
Yeah.
He said he was unsure. This is his first time on track with this car. He was excited about the double wishbone front suspension, but the pads on it are stock. So he said his strategy would be to turn the regen mode during braking onto max regen to let the hybrids or the electric system do the majority of the braking work and let the brakes get some relief. But 139 is pretty quick for that car, I would say.
It would be interesting to talk to him about what he feels of, his opinions on the driving of that, because I think one of the things that I'm not the type of person who really hates the idea of this electric cars on track. I enjoy seeing cars go fast, and I know that electric cars are capable of that.
Yep.
And so to me, it's less about it doesn't make all the noises I need it, and it's not a real race car or whatever. But I would think that it's very hard to drive because they're essentially a single speed transmission.
Yep.
So
performance indicators and the things that you're used to hearing and feeling, you just don't have them.
Like I know that when I'm in this RPM range in this gear, I'm going this fast.
Right.
That doesn't exist.
Yep.
In that car, so I would think that it would be really hard not to wildly overcook or over brake into a corner.
Right. So. Arguably, in some ways, you're taking driver aids away because those additional sensations give you more frames of reference.
Yeah.
In this case, though, with a car like that, you just don't have that.
Right. Man, that corner is just getting everybody. Jackie just let that Integra by in the straightaway right before that. So.
But as we talk about time attack, I think we saw it at Pikes Peak with the Volkswagen. Or Goodwood and the IDR.
Mm-hmm.
For time attack, I think the case for electric cars is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are the kind of driver that can go out and drive your fast lap on the first attempt.
Yeah.
Or if you have enough forethought to dial it back and not push to close or finish that hot lap if you know that it's not going to be there. Save the battery, go out, and take another shot.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to see a full unlimited class time attack effort on either a car that started out as or is converted to electric.
Yep, absolutely. And our competition rulebook has provisions for both a home builder electric car class, but some of these more stock electric showroom stock electric cars can fit into the various classes of street, with Jackie running the street class in his Model 3.
Model S's are street GT, correct?
I believe that's correct. We don't see as many of those now. I think they're a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
Model 3s have been much more common here on track in the last couple of years.
Yeah. There's a handful of Model S's running up Pikes Peak this year.
Oh boy.
So, a plaid with Randy Probst in the driver's seat.
I've heard those are quick.
I expect that car to be incredibly fast this year.
So we want to give a shout out to one of our GridLife drivers, Ben Council, who was driving yesterday and had a bit of an off at Pikes Peak. We're glad he's all right, but it's a really tough event, man.
Yeah, not a place to go off.
So about 9 minutes here into the Time Attack Run Group 3. I think Scott Hollingsworth is running his S2000. I think
that's who just pulled off.
Let's see.
I wonder what Matt's record is here. I assume it's Matt. Yep, look at that. Matt Williams, spec fit, a 147.6. So that would mean
James Morgan got a little ways to go.
James got a ways to go. But again, still, I mean, nobody else is setting records either. I think this is still, portions of this track
I think there should be a bounty for any person that can drive a spec fit and take a record from Matt Williams.
Yeah, it seems.
because consistently he gets faster every single event, and the times aren't slow.
Yeah. He seems to have shifted his focus to Club TR. Looking for a new challenge, a new class to ruin.
But what I do know is he and the Team BRAP, that group of people, only recently started using data and reviewing data between sessions. And especially with the spec fits, what they were seeing was a mistake here at a corner like turn 1. They would see that mistake multiply and multiply and multiply in time, and you don't get back on pace until like corner 6 or corner 7 because of how you have to drive these cars and how little horsepower is available. So the challenge of spec fit is to be perfect.
See, I think that applies to any and all cars. You know what I mean? It's not like oh, I missed my braking into that corner, so I'm going to push the gas pedal a little harder.
Well, I think it's tricky, though, because
it doesn't
I think
matter.
as the performance of the cars go up, the difficulty to get, it's probably not fair to say that every driver is driving perfectly, even at the upper level classes,
No,
right? So
gosh, no.
I think driving perfect is the goal,
Right.
but I think especially at some of those extreme speeds, probably some drivers will leave a little bit on the table in caution. And with a fit, you're not really, I mean, you're driving cautiously, but it's so much slower that your push is to use the brakes as little as possible.
Yeah, we're not all Tom O'Gorman.
Who had an outstanding qualifying session.
What a ridiculous man behind the wheel.
So James continues with a 54.964, improving on Pete Lindbergh a decent amount with a 58.693. Patrick Morgan also in a spec kit, 59.867. And it looks like fastest of the session by a lot will be Jackie Ding. Now I imagine, given his double driving, he may drive in A and B, but he may also just continue to drive in A and C here. This weekend is not particularly full in the run groups, which should give him the freedom and flexibility to run here in C and not be obstructed, even though he's considerably faster than the remaining cars in this group.
Yeah. Do you know, is that rear or all-wheel drive?
I can't say.
Okay. That's fair.
I wonder what Mikey's driving this session.
Yeah, I saw his name in there.
So Mikey is kind of a favorite local tuner here in the Chicago area for Hondas. I know that Mikey has probably tuned Adam's car a million times.
He's in Club TR front-wheel drive this weekend.
Okay, with a 51.429, it looks like. Some years ago, he ran a 38.0 at Gingerman in an RSX with a K24 swap.
Yeah.
Really like a sleeper-looking car, a little bit ratty. Really solid lap time. So Mikey doesn't drive a ton, but when he does, he can be fast.
It's kind of interesting because, like, I know, when I do pretty much anything that I think I'm reasonably competent at, if I don't do it for a while and then get back to it, I can tell that I've lost some of that.
Sure.
And so someone who can go out there and put together a really impressive lap time, despite not really spending that much time on track, it's got to make a man wonder, like, how fast could he really be if he spent the amount of time that some of these other drivers are.
Yeah, and I think even Tom would say that part of his recipe for success historically was, taking every opportunity that he could to drive anything, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. Somebody who has multiple solo national championships.
In different classes.
I think he spent a lot of time working at a go-kart track when he was younger.
Yep.
And, obviously you're going to get a ton of track time there. Yeah. It's all about being out there and just doing it.
Yep, absolutely. And I think we talk a little bit, or we have talked during the session a little bit about driving in the rain. And you know, it's always a little bit of a gamble to go out in the rain, especially if you push yourself too hard and you lose control of the car. At the same time, it's very hard to become a good rain driver if you don't give yourself an opportunity to drive in the rain.
Yeah, that radar makes it look like it could be raining here any second. So
it does. Yep.
But it also kind of looks like it a little bit brightened up outside, so it's hard to say. Oh, seems we have a tornado alert. That would be. It just wouldn't be a grid life without some sort of terrible, severe thunders or weather. Was it last year that this event at the very end got hit by a really nasty storm?
You know, they all just blend together.
Hurricane Grid Life at
Midwest Festival 2 years ago.
Still a mountain of easy ups.
I saw it a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah,
so if you venture around the Gingerman grounds, back behind the pond and a little ways around, what you will see is quite properly a mountain of scaffolding, I guess, from Easy Up Camp pop-up tents, which is just bizarre, and it's been there a little while. So not sure how long this session will continue, but sky's looking a little ominous there.
Yeah. Drift up next, I believe.
I hear cars still in the grid, so I would expect that we will go green here momentarily for the next session. Now, were you at Midwest Festival when we had the that weird storm roll through?
Yes.
So it was a storm front that I've not seen anything like that
No,
before.
what a terrifying thing to watch roll in.
Well, I believe I was sitting on the pit cart holding down the Easy Up.
Yeah. We were camped right along the front straight. Our tent was set up literally between pit and the wall for the track on that grass strip there, right? And I saw the storm roll in. I was helping some other people, and then I ran over to our tent to make sure it was still there, and it was laying down. And I was like, okay, well, at least it's still there, right? And I was kind of moving it around, making sure everything was still in shape and that it hadn't like broken or something like that, when I realized that my friends who I was there with were in the tent at that point.
Well, I think a few drivers learned a really valuable lesson, which is jack stands are not an effective tie down for Easy Up tents.
Yeah, one ended through the windshield of a vehicle, if I remember correctly.
So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. If your object looks like a sail, tie it down.
Yeah. And use trailers, cars, real heavy things.
Because I would argue even a tire is not heavy enough.
Well, that depends on what tire you're using. But around here, there's a lot of lightweight wheel and tire packages.
Maybe a 355 ACR tire.
Well, we... whoa.
Looks like drift is rolling out onto track.
Now, so.
I'm not sure if we have separate commentators for drift. If we don't, this is going to be a surprise for us.
We're not going to be very good at this.
No. Pete Collins.
Yeah.
I went out with Pete at Midwest Festival, or the spring kickoff event.
Yeah.
Being in a drift car is a weird thing.
It's fun, though, isn't it? It's a good time.
Someone, as Pete and I finished our drift session, the first thing he asked was, doesn't it make you want to go out in a car with more power? And my response immediately was, no, absolutely not. That was plenty.
I couldn't disagree more with you there. It's never enough power mentality of drifting is one of the things I love the most about it. Ryan Littoral, I believe, on screen there.